drawing boards put them into a false camaraderie, too close for Kat's comfort. There had been a sort of argument on the 3rd of November 1938, the date retained with bitterness and a rancour Cathcart did not like to acknowledge. How could he tell Morgan that such a man could get under his skin with a few paltry statements? She might have questioned him, and Cat secretly needed his wife's accord in everything. By the end of 1938, Cathcart was given his own space. This had little effect on Kermelode, who constantly aired his political bias towards fascism. Admiring Benito Mussolini's exploits in Abyssinia, he said he could see how much could be gained from taking over a country run by gollywogs. Cathcart was infuriated by this admiration for land-grabbing. Kermelode's loudly expressed view was that the last war had been a mistake. He personally had no intention of putting on a uniform. His unwanted opinions, often presented in a joking manner, increased Cathcart's suppressed hostility. He felt only he was capable of making light of a serious situation without harming it. For hadn't his skillful sense of humour been the deciding factor in winning Morgan? Whether she agreed with this, he never questioned. Kat's father's views on the match were clear and nothing to do with jokes tasteful, clever or dirty. Morgan was too grand for his son. "Out of your class, lad. Them good-looking women special," he had said. "Women like that have expectations you won't be able to live up to." How his father had arrived at this notion was baffling. "She may be one of them that hides a lot of feelings under them looks, makes 'em skittish, like a horse. If you want to marry her, you'll have your work cut out." Particularly since money was involved. "With the way things are going, fewer jobs, more strikes, mark my words, you'll be one of the lucky ones." Cathcart, unsure, had replied, "I may marry her, I may not. Haven't decided yet. Your mother was one of them thoroughbreds, and found out too late. Secrets never spoke. Cleared off one day. Bolted." His father had never talked like that before. "You told me Mother had died." "Might just as well. Now you're grown you can have the truth. You must be tough enough if you're willing to take on the Perincall girl." The conversation had left Cathcart wishing his father had not opened up so frankly. All it had done was leave him with a greater sense of insecurity. Worries about an errant mother subsided slowly, decreasing the disquiet over Morgan Perincall. They continued to fluctuate over the 3 years of their courtship, right up until the autumn of 1927. Morgan's father, Montague Perincall, had stated her suitor was steady. Cat was certain he'd heard it, just as he'd heard the Perincall's housekeeper, Rhoda Swell, reply, "She'd do best to marry that Brodick chap. So, Morgan being Morgan, she will not. She'll lead the poor fellow a merry dance." Her employer's reply was carried off on the September wind rattling the chestnut trees. There and then, in 1927, Cat decided he would have nobody but Morgan Perincall, whatever the challenges or the rumours. His new wife rapidly dispelled any doubts about her desire to be wed. She enjoyed sex as much as he, within the bound, as she first expressed it, of careful management. A nagging thought persisted that women should not be so eager in bed, nor so spirited out of it. Cathcart's private feeling was that married women should present no further problems, but should live in gratitude for having been saved from spinsterhood. He knew this was wishful thinking, for he was not a fool. But the breadwinner's word should be law, he having forgotten that his new wife had brought with her a dowry, and an unspoken independence at odds with her husband's expectations. Morgan merely acknowledged that Cat, 5 years older, would be more conservative. Her need to take herself off, without giving any details, caused him much irritation. Within the first weeks of marriage she had gone exploring London. No hard words could bring his new wife to heel. So Cathcart slowly learned that light-hearted reprimands were the best means of control. As Morgan's need to explore diminished, and Cathcart retained his sense of humour, the marriage settled. There were shared interests in food and books, art and music. Cathcart's preferences were for galleries and museums rather than concerts. Church-going continued, as it always had at the villa. Morgan's